Live from my living room in the greater Boston area, even if you can't tell, it's Aligning with the Stars. Da 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 da. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Aligning with the Stars. I'm your host, Aline, but you can call me Allie. Gonna be a bit different of a show tonight, if you can't already tell. I just got back from a 9-day vacation, so for the sake of my sanity, I'm going to try to keep this one on the shorter side, and I've decided to do it kind of audio only. I put together a little slideshow so you do have something to look at, but it was just going to be too much for me to edit like a whole sit down podcast. So I thought this would be the best way to get an episode out before we get to this upcoming week's episode. I'm going to try to keep it short. I'm just going to give my general thoughts on each dance, what I liked, what I didn't like, what I thought of the scores. Who knows, though, I might go off on a tangent. I can't really stop myself when it comes to talking about Dancing with the Stars. Overall, I thought this episode was a really fun idea. I liked that they brought back trios. I was excited for that. But I wish they had just brought back trios in the way that we were asking, like with a former pro or a former star. I think that this didn't really work in terms of execution because I feel like the guest dedication person kind of took down the quality of the dance. Whereas if some of these people had been on their own, just dancing with their pro partner, I think their dances would have been better and they would have scored higher. But I think it was cute in execution. And everyone did it so differently. Like Lisa was in pretty much the whole dance, whereas Danielle and Pasha's dedicated person, William, was not in it at all. So I feel like it was hard to judge this episode fairly. And because of that, I'm glad that no one went home because everyone was just on such a different wavelength when it came to how they were doing this. It did annoy me in the moment because, like, why did I watch all of that and no one goes home? No one goes home. But looking back, totally valid. I understand why they did that. We welcomed back two-time Mirrorball champion Kim Johnson. She was our first guest judge that we saw this season. I love when they have qualified judges and not just randoms who match the theme, like the guy that they had for hair metal night last night. Like, I know he is a very successful hair metal musician, but he had no business being in the Dancing with the Stars ballroom, and all of his comments were weirdly sexual and very awkward to watch. Whereas Kim, she has experience as a pro, so her feedback was really strong, really specific, really helpful. I love seeing her up there. I would love to see more of her next season. Let's make her a permanent judge, replace Carrie Ann, because she actually gives good feedback and not just random bursts of sounds and words like Carrie Ann does. And I thought that her scores actually matched the dances. She didn't have to guess what score she should be giving. She actually knew because she has experience being a pro. And a little fun fact about Kim is that she is married to Robert from Shark Tank. She was partnered with him on season 20, and I believe they came in 6th place. So, a little fun fact there. Anywho, onto the dances. First up, we saw Andy and Emma, and they did a salsa to jump in the line. They received 4 sixes for a total score of 24. This was dedicated to his daughter, Cornelia. I thought it was super cute, super fun. Obviously, it's Andy. Cornelia's little ballroom shoes killed me. I thought that was so cute. I felt like this dance was mostly just Emma dancing around him. And, they had some moments. They did a little side by side, but Emma is obviously doing so much more than Andy is. I thought this was definitely his dance with the most content, but it was still pretty bad. I'm not really seeing the improvement. I see some people online being like, he's improving, but barely. I think the scores were honestly high for this. Like, I know there was no improvement from last week. If you compare, like, last week he got 3 sixes and this week he's getting 4 sixes. So technically higher, but I think just still like overscored, but they can't really go down. I turned into a random episode of Strictly Come Dancing the other day, which is the UK version of Dancing with the Stars. It actually came first. It came out a year earlier than Dancing with the Stars. And in that one episode, which wasn't the first week, I saw judges give 2s and 4s. Like, let's bring that back. If they can give out 2s and 4s, why can't we? After that, we saw Whitney and Robert, and they did a contemporary to You'll Be in My Heart. They received an 8 and 3 nines for a total score of 35. This was dedicated to his mom, Terry. This was a very sharp contrast from Andy and Emma's dance. I cried from the start of the package to the end of the dance. I thought it was beautiful. It was a gorgeous dedication to his mom. When Bindi was on, she dedicated her dedication dance to her dad. So I thought that this was like a full circle moment for their family, and I really loved that. And I'm so glad that he was partnered with Whitney and not Riley, like a lot of people wanted. I think that Whitney better matches him and his talent level and what he would need from a pro partner. So I think that this was the perfect pairing for them. Thought he had really good fluidity to his movement, which we've been looking for a couple weeks now. That was a big comment from the judges last week, to not just stop and pose, but really flow through everything. I felt like Contemporary was the perfect dance to shake that out of him. I loved how they utilized his strength too. I said last week that they would probably have some really fun lifts because that's one thing that Whitney is really good at, and they were able to do that, which I loved. The moment with his mom at the end gave me chills. Thought it was beautiful. I loved like just his reaction to that, watching him cry, just knowing how special and how meaningful that was to them and his family was so awesome. I thought that there should have been all nines. Looking at you, Carrie Ann, she said it was honest and open. So I'm like, what more are you looking for that would have made it a nine? Everyone else felt that it was a nine. And watching Derek cry, knowing that he was partnered with Bindi when Robert was a little boy, was so touching. You know, I just wonder what is going through Derek's head in that moment, because obviously the Irwin family holds a very special place in his heart. So that was really heartwarming to see. Next up, we saw a foxtrot from Alan and Elaine. This foxtrot was to This Will Be an Everlasting Love, and they received an 8, 2 sevens, and an 8 for a total score of 30. This was dedicated to her best friend, Lisa Ann Walter, and I felt like this was one of the best dances of the night from a trio perspective. I feel like they really did it as a true trio and not just like a moment or two dedicated to that person. I don't really know what their rules and constraints were, but I really liked what Alan did with it. And I'm upset that it kind of hurt their scores because I feel like they embraced the meaning of the night the most. I thought the choreography was really good, and I just love watching her dance. She's so captivating. She lights up the stage. Absolutely love it. I thought that she was completely underscored. I think it should have been at least all eights. So what if she did something a little weird with her arms? She was still so freaking good. I don't think that what she did with her arms takes it down to a 7. I think it takes it down to an 8. I smiled through the whole thing, and at no point was I was like, ugh, that was funky. And I just think it's absolutely criminal that she got the same score as Scott and was toward the bottom of the leaderboard. And I hate that they are carrying over the scores from this week because I worry that that will hurt her next week. I wish we could just get this one bad dance over with, not have to worry about it. And I say bad in quotes because it was not bad, it was just underscored. But like, I just worry that it's going to hurt her next week. And if she somehow goes home before Andy, God forbid, I will literally riot in the streets. Like, I won't stand for that. After that, Mark and Whitney went. They did a contemporary to the song Heal, and they received a 9 and 3/8 for a total score of 33. This was dedicated to her husband, Connor, and may I be the first to say, okay, Connor, Mr. Dancer. I thought the opening pose was sick. I was a little confused at first, but once they panned out, I was like, oh, that's really cool. And Mark's contemporaries are just always so good. He did a really, really beautiful contemporary with Charlie on her season. I highly recommend going back and watching that. I just love him, and I love his brain and what he's able to do with everything. And she is just such a beautiful dancer. And I know she kind of had the leg up this week because she has a degree in modern dance, so she probably has done some contemporary in her time, but she just still does like some stuff so beautiful. And it's not like they dumb down the choreography. She's doing complicated choreography, and she's a mother, and she probably hasn't danced in years. Like, I think we can give this to her. And it was such a different side of her. Like, we usually see the fun and funky, very eccentric Whitney, but this was very emotional, just like such a different side, excuse me. People are saying that this was overscored. I personally think that Carrie Ann overscored it, but the rest were valid. Yes, they had some timing issues on that one side by side moment, but the rest of what they did was so impressive. And I think that that one issue doesn't take it down to a 7, it took it down to an 8, much like with Elaine. And I think if she didn't have that little slip up, this probably would have been all 9s. Jen and Jan went next, and they did a Viennese waltz to Rescue. They received an 8 and 3 sevens for a total score of 29. This was dedicated to her mother, Maria. If you didn't know, she was actually pretty sick all week, so they had very limited rehearsal time. I think you could kind of tell from the packages, they were all filmed in like one specific day. That being said, I think that this was her best dance. And it's funny because both her and Whitney's songs are such classical dance competition songs. So I've heard these songs before, I've seen dances to them, but I felt like they were so fitting for this night. And also, like Whitney, this was a very new side of Jen that we hadn't seen before. It was very soft, very emotional. There were a few iffy moments. There were some moments where it felt like they got caught on each other. They weren't totally in sync. But overall, I think that we saw a big change in her dancing. And I completely sobbed through all the moments with her mom. That was so beautiful. Like they kept flashing to Emma up in the skybox and she was sobbing. And that was literally me watching this episode. It was so emotional. And I think that these scores were fair. I think the 1-8 is deserved and then 3-7s makes sense to me. After that, Dylan and Daniela went. They did a contemporary to Rewrite the Stars. This was dedicated to his little sister, Olivia, and this received the highest score of the season. All 9s, really exciting. His sister was such a little cutie. I couldn't stand it. I loved that she was just owning her moment. So cute, up there with her big brother. Like, I can't imagine how excited she must feel in that moment. The opening was so cute, especially. Like, just getting to have that moment together alone on stage, it gave me chills. Sad, however, that we did not see the third Efron in the audience. I wonder what he's up to, if not to be there for his brother and his sister. On Dancing with the Stars, we missed you, Zach. I predicted last week that this would be a breakout routine for Dylan, and I totally think that it was. He had such confidence on stage from that first pass on the stage, like Derek said. You could tell, like, he was feeling this. This was his moment. He was going to own this dance, and I think totally deserved scores. All the way up to the top of the leaderboard, and compared to last week, I think he was kind of towards the bottom-ish, so really excited for him. Jordan and Ezra were next. They did a Viennese waltz, Two Daughters, and they received 4 8s for a total score of 32. This was dedicated to her father, Timothy. I think this was so sweet. I also cried through this one. However, I do think having her dad dance as much as he did hurt her scores. Overall, a very good dance, but we didn't see any improvement in her score. She received all 8s last week as well. It just didn't have a lot of wow moments for me, which can be hard in a waltz. But when you think about Alex's waltz that she did recently, like that was so different and so powerful, but that just might be some of the song choices. And it's hard to have those wow moments, but I definitely didn't feel them here. Not her best, but not her worst. I think the scores were fair, and I hope next week they come out with a bit more of a bang. I think their last 2 dances have been kind of lackluster for me, so I'm just hoping next week we'll see more of that pow from them. I think fair scores. Next was Scott and Riley. He did a foxtrot to his own song, Parallel. He received a 7, an 8, a 7, and an 8 for a total score of 30. This was dedicated to his husband, Mark. Like I said, this is absolutely insane that this got the same score as Elaine. He is bad, she is good. I think they're just like judging them on 2 different scales, and that's how they ended up with the same score, but so absolutely ridiculous. Hold everyone to the same standard, please. So you don't hurt my girl Elaine, because I need her here. I would love to see her final 5. Bring her to the finale, like, for Christ's sake. I need to see more of her. Anyways, the choreo like wasn't even that complicated. They have to dumb it down for him because he's not good. And by week 5, I feel like we should be seeing more content from him. Like, he's young, he's in shape, he's musical, he's a freaking a cappella singer. He should not be dancing like this. And Riley is just totally outshining him. And I think that this should have been all 7s, personally. Next up, we saw Danielle and Pasha do a jive to the Boy Meets World theme song. They received 3 7s and an 8 for a total score of 29. This was dedicated to her former co-star, William Daniels. I thought this was a very cute dedication. I've personally never watched Boy Meets World, but I imagine that this was very nostalgic, a very full circle moment. Probably felt like you were watching the show. I liked Bruno's comment about them pitching Boy Meets World the musical. I feel like people would eat that up. I think Danielle is a fun dancer to watch, but I'm honestly enjoying Pasha a lot more in this partnership. We don't get to always see him dance a lot because, like, a lot of the time his partners have gone home early, with the exception of Ariana Madix. So this is filling like the little Pasha-sized hole in my heart. I think he's so fun, he's so energetic, he gets really into the dances, and I think he's a good partner for her to have. So I think overall this is a good partnership. Hoping they last a couple more weeks. I would also be sad if she went home before Andy, because I think she definitely deserves a spot more. I needed a bit more bounce from her, and the judges commented on her like needing to put her weight a little bit more forward. And sometimes I could tell that she was thinking about the steps, but overall, I really enjoyed it. I think the scores were fair. I just think Bruno kind of has a soft spot for her. He's always like, she'll go to apologize and he'll be like, "Don't be sorry, you're gorgeous." And then he gives her the 8 while the others give 7s. So I feel like he's got a little like soft spot for her, which valid. She's cute. Lastly, Alex and Val did a contemporary to heel. They received an 8 and 3 nines for a total score of 35. This was dedicated to her little sister, Isabel. Carrie Ann giving a 9 to Whitney while all the other judges gave her 8s, and then giving both Robert and Alex 8s when everyone else gave them 9s sums her up perfectly. Alex is my underdog pick of this season. I absolutely love her, and if you haven't seen any of her behind the scene vlogs, I highly recommend watching them. It shows a lot of her personality and the work that she's putting into this, because at the end of the day, she's kind of just a normal girl. Like, she's a TikToker. She doesn't live some, like, I mean, she's like a rich TikToker from New Jersey and she does crazy things, but she's not like an actor or a sports player. Like, I feel like it's just so different for her. And I think that's just been really awesome to watch. And when watching this, my boyfriend turned to me and said that this should have been a 10. And then when Carrie Ann held up the 8, we both screamed. We're like, what the hell are you doing, Carrie Ann? And this is the third week in a row that she has been 1 point away from the top spot. So if Carrie Ann gave her that 9, she would be in the top position. Very upsetting. I thought this was such a beautiful and heartwarming dance. I thought her movement quality was really good. Her energy and her emotions were perfect. Bruno said it was effortless. Derek said it had a maturity to her movement. And Kim said it was she is the surprise of the season. And I completely agree. Don't know what Carrie Ann was on, giving this a 9. An 8. So overall, my top 3 of the night were Alex, Dylan, and Robert in that order. So overall, my top 3 of the night were Alex, Dylan, and Robert in that order. So overall, my top 3 of the night were Alex, Dylan, and Robert in that order. So overall, my top 3 of the night were Alex, Dylan, and Robert in that order. And my bottom 2, yet again, no surprise to anyone, were Scott and Andy. And my bottom 2, yet again, no surprise to anyone, were Scott and Andy. And my bottom 2, yet again, no surprise to anyone, were Scott and Andy. And my bottom 2, yet again, no surprise to anyone, were Scott and Andy. And my bottom 2, yet again, no surprise to anyone, were Scott and Andy. Looking ahead to next week, we have Wicked Night. Woohoo! We have guest judge John Chu, who is the director of the Wicked movies. I am so incredibly excited for this. This is like two worlds colliding for me. I love Wicked so much. And I also obviously love Dancing with the Stars. So the two together in one night is a perfect storm for me. And we're going to see two new dance styles this week. We're going to see the rumba and the Argentine tango, which is different from just a normal ballroom tango. A rumba is a very romantic and intimate dance. It's called the Dance of Love, and it is a Latin dance. You're going to see slow, quick timing. It's very smooth, very grounded. The partners almost act as one person, melted together and moving together. You'll see a lot of like sensual eye contact, which you can kind of see in this photo here. This is Joey and Jenna's rumba from last season, which was so incredibly wonderful, and it was his week 2 dance. So if you haven't seen this before, I recommend stopping this video and going to watch that because it'll blow your mind. Like, after seeing this, you knew that he had this season on lock. You'll probably hear the judges comment on the Cuban motion, which is kind of a signature Latin hip action movement. I love a good rumba. I love the emotion from a rumba. It just always draws you in. And I'm very excited to see the rumbas that we'll see this week, which I will talk about coming up. And then the Argentine tango is mostly categorized as a Latin dance, but it doesn't necessarily fit perfectly in either Latin or ballroom. It's kind of its own separate thing, and it is different from tango, like I said. Argentine tango kind of focuses more on a close connection and fluid movement, whereas tango is more focused on sharp, dramatic movements, a formal frame, and very strong and rhythmic beat. In this photo, you'll see Derek, and I believe this is Natasha, the gymnast, doing an Argentine tango. He always did a killer Argentine tango, so I recommend going to watch one of his to get a sense of what you should see in a really strong Argentine tango. We are seeing a couple jazz dances this week again. One of those jazz dances will be from Alex and Val, and they'll be dancing to What Is This Feeling? So we're seeing 3 jazzes and 2 contemporary dances this week, which kind of annoys me. You know, we did a bunch of contemporary last week for dedication night, which I feel like is standard. But having half the dances again this week be neither a ballroom or a Latin style is crazy to me. Like, I love jazz and I love contemporary as much as the next person. But what I really love about Dancing with the Stars is watching all the different ballroom and Latin styles, because I feel like it's just such a different world to learn, excuse me. And it's just a different process as compared to jazz and contemporary, because there's so many more rules, there's more technique involved. And I don't know, I'm just not a super big fan of seeing so many jazz and contemporary pieces. Like, I think they have their place, but not this much. But anyways, on to Alex and Val. Originally, people thought that they would be doing popular, but I feel like this is even better for them. Like, I'm really, really, really excited to see Alex be this character. I mean, obviously, she's going to be Glinda. Um, I think, like, we saw her do a really good character with her Maleficent dance, so I'm excited to see her do that again. And I saw on TikTok that she has been making Val learn the words so they can lip sync, as they obviously should for this song. So I'm really excited, think it'll be fun. I'm hoping to see her at the top of the leaderboard again. And hopefully in the actual top spot, not just one away. Andy and Emma are also going to be doing a jazz dance, and they will be dancing to One Short Day. I thought that he was going to get one of the Wizard songs, like Sentimental Man or whatever his other Wizard song is. Like all of his dances, I'm sure this one will probably be fun and funny. I think jazz is going to be an interesting style for him. I think they'll have more creativity and maybe be able to play into his personality more. You just heard that in the background. That was my cat sprinting across the room. And I do think the song choice is a bit ironic, because people probably thought his time would be short on Dancing with the Stars. But yet, here he is, so it has not been one short day for him. Robert and Whitney have the last jazz dance, and they will be dancing to Dancing Through Life. I think that this is the perfect song for him, because even though he is like the exact opposite personality wise as Fiyero, like he's not self centered like we see in the beginning, early stages of Fiyero, but he has that same like zest for life. So I feel like he'll really be able to embody Fiyero in this performance. So I'm really, really, really excited to see what Whitney does with this choreography. I wonder if it'll be very like specific to the actual choreography that we see in the movie, because when her and Danny Amendola did a jazz last season to the song from Deadpool and Wolverine, they had it very accurate to the movie. So I feel like they could do that and have so much fun with this dance. So really, really excited for that one. And I'm hoping he can keep his momentum from last week moving forward into this week and not plateau again. I would love to see, I don't know, maybe a 10, maybe all nines. Who knows? I'm excited. Danielle and Pasha have the Argentine tango, and they will be dancing to No Good Deed. This is one of my absolute favorite songs from Wicked. I think it is totally underrated. This is from Act 2, so we have not yet seen the movie version of it. I think this will be a very different vibe for Danielle. We've seen a lot of her fun side, but this is going to be very intense and dramatic. The judges asked for more attack from her this or last week, and I think she'll really need to bring that this week. I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm hoping it doesn't fall flat. I just think it'll be very fun. Like this song, I went to Salem a couple of weeks ago, or I guess months ago at this point, and I just kept singing like the intro. Alikanama nama nashi washu alikaname. So I'm hoping that they'll like play around with that, like have like a really cool opening moment. I don't know. It'll be fun. Like I said, I'm cautiously optimistic for this. Dylan and Daniela have one of the rumbas this week, and Dylan and Daniela will be dancing to I'm Not That Girl, which is funny because he is that girl. Dylan and Daniela have both said that they don't really know much about Wicked, so they just picked this song, but I think it's so funny because it's like the complete opposite of his story. But I'm really excited for this. I love a Roomba, and I especially love a Danny Roomba. And like Danny and Dylan, like I just think it, like I said, they're one of the hottest couples on Dancing with the Stars this season, and this is a very hot dance style. So I think it's going to be really fun to watch. He'll get to really showcase his leading man qualities in this one. So I expect him to be at the top of the leaderboard again this week. Jordan and Ezra also have a rumba, and they will be dancing to For Good. Freaking love this song. People are upset that she didn't get Defying Gravity because obviously she's like a gymnast. She jumps around and defies gravity. But this is the title song for Act 2, so that's really exciting. It'll be a very different vibe from Dylan and Danny's rumba, but I'm still excited for how they like play around with this song and that dance style. I don't know that it perfectly fits, so I'm kind of excited for that. Maybe a little nervous. And I feel like the last 2 weeks, their dances were really good, but like I said, a little bit lackluster. So I'm hoping they can bring that pow into the rumba. Elaine and Alan have a contemporary this week, and they will be the ones to dance to Defying Gravity. So excited for Elaine getting a good song, and I'm really excited to see her do it contemporary. I just know that she's going to kill it and to do it to the song from Wicked. But the only downside of that is I saw someone on TikTok say that Carrie Ann's going to have some comment like, "You are defying the odds by being here at your age." Like, she's only, what, 56? 54? Like, she's not that old, but Carrie Ann treats her like she's ancient. Like, not every comment you make to her needs to be like, "And you're doing that when you're old?" Like, shut up, Carrie Ann. Just let her be a good dancer. Can't wait for this one. Scott and Riley also have a contemporary, and they'll be dancing to The Wizard and I think this is kind of a weird song to have a contemporary to. I wonder if they'll do like a slow down version of it or like play with it a bit, because I don't know, like to me it doesn't scream contemporary. But this is one of my favorite songs in Wicked. It gives me chills every time I listen to it because of all the dramatic irony. Like when I took some of my friends to watch Wicked in theaters, they had never seen the show, they don't know the plot or anything. Like when she was like, "I'd be so happy I could melt," I turned to them and I was like, "Do you guys get it? Do you guys get it?" Like, I love this song. I love everything about it. But sadly, I think Scott is going to butcher this. He's just too stiff to pull off a good contemporary dance. He's literally the only person I would not be upset to see go home before Andy. Like, if Andy's not going home this week, please, please, please let it be Scott. Otherwise, I'm rioting. I think that their jazz dance was probably the best dance that they've done. So maybe since it's not a ballroom or Latin style, it'll be okay, but it probably still won't be good because he's stiff as heck. Jen and Jan will be doing a foxtrot too, As Long As You're Mine. I also feel like this was a miss in terms of the style that they're doing to the dance. I think that this should probably be a rumba because this is a love song and it's like a very intimate moment between Elphaba and Fiyero. Sorry, spoilers if you're not familiar with Act 2. And I think that For Good should have been a foxtrot, so I feel like those should be switched. She's definitely getting better. Like each week she progresses in a forward direction. I've never felt like she's been plateauing or going backwards. And I think that if she has full rehearsal time this week and she's not sick, that this will be her best dance yet. I would love to see challenging and engaging choreography. I think this could be a breakout moment for her. And to this song is so freaking good. Like, really excited to see that. Lastly, Whitney and Mark are doing a quick step to popular. Obviously, they are going to eat this up. I can't wait to see how they choreograph this. Like, will one of them be Elphaba and the other be Glinda? I honestly don't know, like, who would be who in this scenario, because I feel like either role they could have a lot of fun in for both of them. Will we maybe see a 10 here? Maybe a 10 from Carrie Ann? I definitely think we'll see the first 10 at some point this week, and I think that Whitney, Alex, Robert, Dylan, and Jordan are all contenders. Maybe Elaine too, but I feel like the judges like just constantly underscore her, so who knows? Overall, I cannot wait for Wicked Week. I love this musical, and I loved the first movie. I can't wait for the second one to come out. Like, I can't believe it's coming out so soon. So glad they didn't make us wait more than a year. And I'm glad they're doing songs from both acts because a lot of my favorite songs are in Act 2. And I think a lot of songs that make really good dances are in Act 2. But anyways, I will catch you guys all later this week with a full produced podcast. In the meantime, please make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you don't miss the next one. Bye, guys!